Welcome back to Just 15 Minutes, the space where leaders share the real practices that keep them steady under pressure. My name is Eric Baumier, and today I'm joined by Sumaya M. Adou. Welcome, Sumaya.
Thank you, Eric.
All right, before we get into our conversation, would you like to join me for a brief drop in practice where we can settle and regulate together?
Let's do it.
Okay, today I thought we would do a triple in breath. So I'll do a quick demonstration. We'll do this in and out through the nose. We'll take three breaths in through the nose. So it's 1, 2, 3, and we'll hold at the top for a moment and then we'll release. And what you might find on that first round is that release wants to come out a little forcefully. And so over the course of the 3 rounds, the intention is to reduce that force so it comes out as easily as we can.
Okay.
So, you ready? We'll do this
I'm excited.
together.
I've never done this one.
All right. Okay. In 3, 2, 1, in, hold, and release. Two more like that. In, hold, and release. This last one, see if we can make it as silent and easeful as possible. 3 ins, hold, and release. Just allowing the body to settle in around that last exhale and coming into this space together. Thank you for joining. So, Sumaya, you have decades in corporate leadership, helping to bring intentionality into the corporate environment with your background in diversity, equity, inclusion, and now in your new role as the chief experience facilitator. So, you go into events and corporate offerings and bring in an intentionality to what it is that you're doing. And so, I would love to just learn more about that and your experience in not misintention, but places where maybe that presence wasn't there, and how the shift of bringing in now this intentionality and your presence into these spaces, how that has changed and shifted.
One of my guiding principles is by Dr. Maya Angelou, who says, people may not remember everything you say, but they remember how you make them feel. And I didn't know that that's where my journey would lead me. But after I went throughout burnout, I realized that I ignored so many signals from my body. I wanted to control everything. My particular favorite forms of stress response are distraction and fight mode. And so when I figured out what experience facilitation meant, I was like, I've done so many events, so many workshops, been to so many things. And what made them special? And when I leave a session and people come up and give me a hug and say, I didn't know I needed to breathe, or when they come up and they're like, I feel great because we did some movement, or they made a like genuine connection with someone. That is the novel experience I think we as humans are losing. And it's why I want to lean into it even more.
And what I'm hearing is you talked about that disconnection and the impactful events that you see, that moment when somebody's coming up to you afterwards. It sounds like they're connecting with themselves and then with others. And so what helps people to find that connection again if we're in this really overwhelming world so often where for reasons, right? Biological reasons, we have disconnected from a lot of things as a way of protection in some ways of the intensity of the world. And so we come into these spaces now in a corporate environment. How are people coming together? How do you bring them back into connection?
Another saying I have is that information is plentiful, but we're missing true connection right now, right? So when we are together or there is a meeting or an event, we always think about the content, but we forget that we are humans and what do we want people to feel and experience? So what I would say is that the intentionality behind connection to themselves and connection to others is just getting people to rediscover that primal instinct that we all have, but we ignore it or we're out of practice. That's what it is. We're out of practice,
Mhm.
and we see this with young people quite a bit. They're growing up in the generations where they're not playing outside all day. They're not interacting with their peers on a regular basis. Everyone's glued to their phone, so they don't have as much practice, right? And when you don't have as much practice and you're in your head a lot and you're not engaging and helping others and sharing of yourself, it just compounds our negative mental health, factors. And so that connection, I believe we should be intentional with that connection because it allows people to, again, for me, it's just reminding our bodies and our spirits what primal connection feels like. Because it's not enough to just tell people, right? So that's why I call it experience facilitation because it's like, I want to make sure they experience it so they feel it when they leave, not just, oh, that was really good
Yeah.
to know. Let me go research that some more. Instead, they're like, ooh, that felt good. I want
Yeah.
more of that feeling.
It's a somatic intention, right?
Mm.
Like this isn't a cognitive intention. I love what you said about like so many events, and I'm guilty of that in my corporate background. Doing corporate events, I'm like, it is, oh, we're all about the content. What do we want the keynote to be? What do we want, the key takeaways to be? That is a cognitive intention. And what I'm hearing is there is a shift from a cognitive intention to a somatic intention. How do I want people to feel? Not what I want them to know, what they feel. And so, what are some of the intention setting practices that you have and that you've learned over the years? And how can you recommend and pass along advice to people to bring in that intentionality?
So the three pillars of my business are connection to self. So, like I told you, I ignored my body and all the signals, alert, 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 you're not doing. So that is one thing. So just getting people to ask themselves, am I feeling anger? Am I feeling jealousy? Like, what is that I'm feeling? That includes some mindfulness as well and noticing when your body's tense and all the things. Then connection to technology. So the average person spends 5 hours a day on their phone and 2.5 hours on social media. And I'll be honest, the tactics, even though we kind of intrinsically know it's not good for us, the tactics that tech companies are using to kind of mask the depth of harm that they're doing to us is on par with like the tobacco industry back in the day. Like it is not good. And even though I knew it wasn't good, I still, during my darkest times, was still down the rabbit holes. And I knew it was making me feel worse. So having intentional technology. So when I do events, again, I need them to feel it. So I'm like, hey, we're going to be together right now. We're going to close our browsers. We're going to put away our phones out of sight. We're going to put our watches on D&D and we're going to be here together. And the fear in people's eyes. And I tell them, listen, I know it is built for your addiction, but we're not getting rid of it. We're going to just have a more intentional relationship with it. And then last part is connection to each other. So as a former DEI leader, I know that the breadth of mental health challenges that people have or neurodiversity that provide some challenges in connection for people. My generation, we're used to the happy hour and like, hey, we'll just like get together and like it'll all work out. The more I heard that like people are terrified of small talk, they are think happy hours are like they'd never go to one. So how do we how do we invite people in and how do we show them, hey, we're going to structure networking. We're going to structure communication and engagement. We're going to give you something to do so you don't feel like you are just standing around and you have nothing to do. So that's the intentionality around we just assume that connection is going to happen and we have to quit assuming.
Yes.
And Eric, I don't know about you, but, like, do you have friends that, like, never recovered after COVID from a social
Mhm.
perspective? So do I.
Still there. Still there.
Oh,
There are times that I sit in a restaurant and I'm like, "Am I allowed to get up? Am I allowed to, like, go over and, like, talk to somebody that I see at the table next to me?" Like, there are still times that I catch myself. It's still it's still in me. So, I
yeah,
feel that, and so I love that three-pillared approach: connection with self, connection with what was the middle one?
technology.
Technology, a conscious connection with technology, and then connection with others. And I think the power of intentionality is the speaking of it into the space,
Yes.
right? Right? Clarity, a clarity of this is how we are going to engage, structure, providing the activity, providing the structure for people helps people feel safe, right? Like playgrounds help children feel safe so that they can go and explore and let themselves be because somebody else has the container. And so, as a facilitator, that's what I hear you're doing. You are bringing conscious verbiage to people and starting to create that container around them so that they can be themselves and breathe as themselves rather than whatever they're trying to operate as.
That thank you for even concisely sharing that back to me because your perspective is just really great as well, and I think what's really important too is that they're all related, right?
Yeah,
Connection to self impacts how you interact with others. Connection technology impacts how you connect with others, you know, and vice versa, like, they're all connected to one another.
they are. If I connect to myself, can I see the patterns at play that are causing me to grab for my technology, that are bringing me into that 2 hour social media doom scroll? Can I see it if I'm connecting with myself? And if I'm disconnected from myself, I may not see that. Right. And like you said, they're all connected. They can either compound in a big, beautiful way or they compound in a detrimental way. So
Ooh,
it's just, yeah. Well, thank you for being here today. Our 15 minutes has come to an end.
thank
So
you, Eric, for creating the space.
yes, thank you for being here. If there is one message that you could just put out into the world right now, what would it be?
We in the US are incredibly blessed and are living at a time in the world where amazing things are happening and we understand more of the earth than we ever have, and that we are flawed, and the world is not a scary and awful place, and that I know I'm going on and on, but my point is that I believe no matter how difficult my life has been, that there is good in most people. Most people are good, and that suffering is just a part of our lives, and we just have to be okay with it and accept it, but that is also what makes life beautiful. And I know that was really long, but I just hear so many people complain about how bad things are, and I'm like, "We got indoor plumbing."
Yeah.
Well, just think about that one thing.
I am grateful for indoor plumbing. Thank you for that
Yeah.
reminder. It is easy. It's easy to fall into it. And so I think that's a really beautiful reminder to bring gratitude. And it is with that that I will close with gratitude. Thank you for being here. Thank you to all the teachers, mentors, and guides, mine and yours, that brought us to this moment here together. And may we continue to allow our presence to ripple out, our intentionality to ripple out. So thank you again for being here. And I'll see you again soon.
Thank you, Eric.